Hi, I'm Mark. I'm here to give some suggestions for those that might have some concerns regarding shoulders, upper back, and in many cases, if there's some restrictions the neck is causing, and just some sort of basic ideas as to how you might be able to work around those concerns that if a neck or shoulder is not working out well for you as you're doing your exercise with respect to the resistance training, for instance, then there may be some things you might be able to pick up from here, and some things that I've picked up from some of the courses, and I can tell you more about it if you want to send me a message as to where some of this is coming from. I can recommend a few courses that, whether you're a trainer or a client of a trainer, um, some things that might advance your knowledge as to where this particular demonstration is going. And we'll start off first with just an example of just some light weights that I have in my hands, nothing much. But if, for instance, if as you're doing things like shrugs with the weights, if you have some concern with the neck or even the shoulder blades, a little tight, sensitive, rather than doing both together at the same time, maybe try one at a time or alternating, depending on what you can tolerate. Sometimes it wouldn't hurt to try without any weights, just see what the weight of your arms causes you, because it's not just the weight that you think you're lifting that might be the issue, it might be the way you're doing it. Or are you engaging some of the muscles that should be starting before you actually raise the shoulders up, for instance, to get the shrugs working. Another possibility is thinking about, oftentimes you'll see what we call lateral shoulder raises or side raises, bringing the arm up to your side. Oftentimes we just take it for granted that we can lift it as high as we want, but if you actually think about getting some of the muscles engaged around the shoulder, both the front, the back, and even the side, and muscles that are going to be involved in this. If you lightly tense up the muscles around that area that you're trying to work towards the side, you might find that you're only going up so high, and then even just to control it on the way down, as opposed to the full range that you think, oh, this has got to be working the same muscles, but oftentimes you may be getting something else that you entirely didn't want to get involved. So just some things to think about. And even if you decide that you want to do both arms together at the same time, you may be even more limited than you were even doing the single one. So depending on how, if there's a degree of severity with respect to the neck, shoulder blades, lower back, whatever it might be, you may want to consider, are you engaging the muscles you want? You can try one side, for instance, and find out if you feel like you've reached your limits at a certain position, and the other side may or may not be the same. That might impact what both can do together. Another exercise, often you'll see it's common to do a shoulder press. Again, you may just assume that you're just lifting above, and that may be the case. And just from some personal experience, and you may have experienced this as well, is if you start loading up the weights, do this, it's possible that you may have some restrictions in the rib cage, lower back. And if that's the case, when you get to a certain weight, what you can do is you can begin to alternate, much like I was showing with the shrugs, or even the side arm raises or shoulder raises, lateral raises as we call them. But if you find that this takes a little bit of pressure off, just to kind of build, you're not releasing per se or giving up on the weights, you're still holding them in place, but simply alternating might give you a bit of a break to build up to the point where you can do them together, which will require more musculature involved in the same repetition that you're doing as compared to one doing at a time or alternating. And then if you reach another level of weight or resistance that you tack on, you might have to go back and alternate again for a period of time, and that may vary. There's no, it's going to be a week or two. You might get an idea that it may take longer as you increase the load, and then perhaps down the road when your musculature around your spine, trunk, rib cage in general, as an example, might be able to support you doing a heavier load for a period of time without having to worry about alternating. So those are simply three of them to kind of build on. One of the other ones that you think in terms of trying to strengthen, and I'll try and bend a bit so I can fit in the camera if I can, Think about rear delt flies, or like flies in general. Again, you're trying to work some of the tissues around the shoulder blade. You typically hear rhomboid and such. There may be some rear shoulders as well. That's why they call them rear delts, I suppose. But there may be some other tissues that are involved. If you have difficulties with doing that, it may be a matter of what position you can tolerate, how much load is working. Again, whether or not you want to do a single one, you may want to use a pulley or a tubing instrument to help generate a little bit more force, because just merely holding the weights here in place to prevent them from falling may require some other muscles and maybe some tissues in the neck that are causing the strain. So you can decide which method you want to do, not necessarily alternate, because you may lose some of the contributions that the muscles may make, but just something to keep in mind if you decide you want to strengthen shoulders, upper back, rear shoulders, supporting the neck a little bit better. You can find neat ways to do it. Just make sure before you're actually lifting it, try to engage the muscles that you're asking you to before you actually lift, because you may find, for instance, that typically I may be able to lift it all the way back, but if I think about engaging those muscles before I actually start, maybe I get a more realistic view of what my limits are. Something to keep in mind. If you have questions, again, I can recommend certainly some courses that are better presented than this video would be, but ideally just something to get you involved. Whether you're a personal trainer, you're a client of a trainer, you might be a physiotherapist or a chiropractor, I can certainly recommend some helpful insights into some of these exercises. Thanks for watching.